3 microphones. The dynamic one, the shotgun, the definitive one. All connected to one single interface. 3 completely different beasts will fight for the title of the champion of microphones for creators and voice actors. Oh, hi. Hi, how are you doing there? This video is going to be so much better if you wear headphones, so I suggest you do it right now. Seriously, I'll wait. Pause the video, wear headphones, come back. Put your headphones on, put your headphones on, put your headphones on. I'll just give you a pair. Here's mine. These are the Audio-Technica's ATH-M20X. These are awesome. They're pretty cheap and they're awesome. Just go buy them. I'm not sponsored or anything. Huge disclaimer, I am not sponsored by any of these brands or products that you're about to see, or any providers. I purchased them all. I owe nothing to anyone in order to provide reviews or critiques or speak my mind about them. These are my honest thoughts on these microphones, and this is not a review. This is a showcase. So there you have it. That's a disclaimer. Big disclaimer, this is not a fair comparison between the PodMic and the TLM103 and the Sennheiser 416 because these are approximately $1,000 each and this is $100. So it's not like the fairest comparison. Plus, this would benefit a lot from the cloud lifter, and more of that later. Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. This is a completely different type of video. I will be comparing 3 different microphones and discussing the different categories. The categories are as follows. If we had a line in our minds somewhere here, a vertical line in the video, this is the dynamic side of the room. So this is the RØDE PodMic. It's a dynamic microphone. It does not require phantom power. And this is the condenser side of the room. So this is the Neumann TLM103. This is a large diaphragm condenser microphone that does require phantom power. And this is the Sennheiser MKH 416, which is a shotgun type microphone, and it has a small diaphragm. So these 2 require phantom power, this one does not. Just to clarify my chain here, there is no preamp, no separate unit, no preamp as a separate unit connected to any one of these microphones. They are being fed directly into the Rodecaster Pro by Rode, which is an amazing sound card, recording, streaming, multi-effect unit that does everything in the box, and it's awesome, which is being recorded externally into my Twisted Wave app in my Mac Mini. So these are very different beasts and very different applications. This microphone is very gain hungry, so despite the fact that it does not require phantom power, and I am not using a cloud lifter, by the way, for those of you who know what it is. I am currently not using a cloud lifter with this microphone. I will be in the future, and when I purchase one, I will demonstrate the difference with and without it. But it is very gain hungry, so this means that out of 55, which is the maximum setting for the gain in the Rodecaster Pro, this microphone is set at 45 by default for me. That's where I set it, and I forget it. This microphone is not as power hungry, but it does require phantom power, and the gain setting is at 25. And the same goes for the Sennheiser 416. So the Rodecaster is recording simultaneously, well, all 3 microphones, but I am switching, I am fading in and out in the faders to fade each microphone in and out as we go. For the purposes of this demonstration, I have taken down some of the panels on the walls because I want this room to be as live as possible. I don't want it to be acoustically dead because I do want to record in an environment. Well, the purpose of this video is to address the question that some of you have come up with. Let me just put this pop filter here so I do not pop and it doesn't get too annoying for you. I am doing this video because lots of you asked, how can I improve my sound in my videos, and possibly voice acting as well. Panels are one thing, and I did demonstrate that in a video where I discussed why panels are important and why acoustics, room acoustics, are really important for your voice acting and voice recordings and, you know, YouTube streaming, etc. It makes the audio so much cleaner. I just paused so that you could hear the washing machine, because I've also left the door and windows open on purpose, because I want this to be as much a simulation of a home environment as possible. So lots of you asked, how can I eliminate noises that are coming from the room next door, like a washing machine or a refrigerator, buzzing sounds, the road outside, and I wanted this to be as much about that as possible. So without further ado, I have discussed the microphones. I have told you why I set the room up the way it is. Can you hear the noise? It'll be so much better with headphones, like I said. Please put them on. And let's start comparing the microphones. By the way, on the Rodecaster Pro, which is also a multi-effect unit, I have switched off all post-processing for each microphone. The only thing I'm leaving on is a global compressor that I use just so that I don't clip too much when I accidentally push the gain levels too high. But other than that, everything is clean as it came in the Rodecaster Pro. Please follow the timestamps in the scroll bar or in the description below, because I will be sectioning this video, and this is the first time I do this, so you can jump from one section to another. And by the way, at the end, I will be discussing how you can also help eliminate external noises and reflections in the room by using some audio post-processing from the Rodecaster Pro or any other unit that you may be using, software or hardware. So, you have been listening to the Neumann TLM103, and this is a gorgeous sound, a gorgeous microphone. Let's jump from one microphone to another and see the differences in the sound. This is the Neumann TLM103. This is the Sennheiser 416. And I can hear this difference in the sound. Let's jump from one to another again. Sennheiser 416, Neumann TLM103. This is more bassy, and that's due to the fact that it has a large diaphragm and it's a condenser microphone just like the other one, so no difference in that part. But the large diaphragm does allow the microphone to pick up more of the bass frequencies that are coming out from my chest and my throat, kind of like that, this part of my body, and not just my mouth. So it's picking up my whole speaker that is my body. And this allows it to pick up a larger frequency spectrum than the Sennheiser. That being said, both of these microphones have really accented high frequencies, and you will hear that compared to the Rode. So this is the Sennheiser now, and there is some bass presence there. It's not someone's eating at the kitchen. My kids are asleep, so who could it be? So there is some bass presence here. It's not like this is non-existent. There is bass presence here, and we want it. It's great. But this microphone is used primarily for promos and trailers, and its architecture, the way it's designed, is also helping with reducing some of the ambience. More on that later on the rejection part. The Sennheiser is the LA microphone. That's what they call it. And the reason that they use it in promos and trailers is that it's so ready to be used with the bass roll-off at the place that it is, that sound engineers can take it and place it in a mix, and we say in the industry that it cuts through the mix, which means that the voice that has been recorded with this microphone is going to help a lot with the difference, the balance, compared to the effects, the sound effects, and the music in a spot, in a commercial, in a promo, in a trailer. So it will be heard. The voice will be audible and clear in the mix when it's paired with all the rest. Let's go back to the Neumann, and then we'll jump to the Rode. Again, this is the Neumann TLM103. God, I love this microphone. And let's jump to the RØDE PodMic. And this is the RØDE PodMic. immediately there's a difference in the sound. I feel it's so drastic. So drastic. And let's do it once more. This is the RØDE PodMic. This is the Neumann TLM103 and RØDE PodMic. TLM103, RØDE PodMic. So let's discuss about this microphone. Dynamic microphones by default are not as full sounding as condenser microphones, and this goes for every dynamic microphone out there, even the most expensive ones. So the RØDE PodMic is a dynamic microphone, and it's not the most expensive one, but it is a dynamic, and that means that it's working in a very different way than the others. The RØDE PodMic is a microphone that needs to be addressed closely. I need to be up in front of the microphone as much as possible. Otherwise, the sound is altered in so many ways, and it is designed to pick up something, a sound source that is right in front of it, right up to it. Even in an acoustically dead environment, this is the distance that this microphone will perform best in. So this sounds more radio-friendly, radio-ready, like we are on the radio already. And there's a reason for that, because radio producers usually, typically, traditionally, use dynamic microphones. Not all of them, but they do use dynamic microphones. And this sounds more compressed right from the get-go and more ready to be broadcast, in a way, in a talk show. Not that these cannot be used very efficiently and effectively in a radio broadcast, like a radio show, but typically many radio producers use dynamic microphones. That's why maybe this sounds like a radio talk show to you. And also, if you go for a large diaphragm condenser, your bass frequencies are going to be more prominent. If you go for a shotgun, it's going to be a little bit more ready, let's say, to be used in most applications. Also, the high frequencies of the dynamic microphones are not as accented. So these microphones are also great for narration, podcasts, streaming sometimes, because they do not cause what we call ear fatigue. So the listener is not going to be fatigued by the sound of the highs as much, because condenser microphones tend to be accenting their highs, which can cause this fatigue. Can you tell the difference between these highs and these highs? Personally, I've never been fatigued in that way, but lots of people have. Maybe my ears are not working. But they say it's true. They say it happens. Who am I to judge? And since we got to the working distance from the microphone, and we started talking about the PodMic, let's discuss about the working distance, like the distance that you need to be in when you are in front of these microphones. So for the RØDE PodMic, let me turn to the side for a minute. This is where I am. If I go to the side, the sound changes. You can hear that. I cannot address this microphone sideways or from here, God forbid. I have to be right in front of it. And if I move further away, you can hear the sound changes dramatically. I am losing some of my highs. They sound a little bit mushy in the high spectrum, while here it's very clear and very nice, very beautiful. Here, the highs are... You can hear how much the sound changes. So this needs to be addressed like this. Let's jump to the Neumann TLM103. This is the Neumann TLM103, and I'm actually really close to this microphone right now. Let me use this pop filter for this part of the video, because it would be nice not to pop all the time. So this microphone is better when addressed at approximately this distance. So your pinky to your thumb, you go like this, and this is the best distance that this microphone performs at. And any large diaphragm condenser microphone performs its best when the voice actor or the singer or the speaker or whoever, the streamer, the YouTuber, is in front of the microphone at this distance. If I move further away, this sound does not change too much. But now there is a difference in the rejection in the room. So the sound changes mostly because you can also hear the rest of the world and my voice bouncing back from the ceiling and the walls again into the microphone. So our bodies as a resonating speaker, as a loudspeaker, natural loudspeaker, they emanate sound from all directions, like from the back of our head even. And this sound jumps wherever it can, in any hard surface that it can bounce off, and then it keeps bouncing back all over the place, especially in parallel surfaces like the wall and the ceiling, or parallel walls. If you have a glass window and a door that's really hard, then the sound keeps bouncing back and forth, and then it keeps getting into the microphone. So this is why you are hearing this difference in the sound. Right now I'm approximately that far from the microphone. I don't know how much that is in inches, but this is 30 centimeters. And I will go back into the position of the pinky to thumb so you can hear the difference in the sound. This is more present. This is more right in front of you. If I go further, closer to the microphone over here, then my bass frequencies are pronounced a lot. And this is because the microphone is working its capacity to capture the bass frequencies with the large diaphragm that we mentioned to its fullest. So this microphone is picking up more of my bass frequencies, and this is called a proximity effect. So when a microphone is picking up more bass frequencies, it has more of a proximity effect. That's what we call proximity effect. So this microphone is very prone to proximity effect. And if I go even closer with a pop filter, because otherwise it would be terrible, listen to this. The popping is pretty terrible when I go up to the microphone without a pop filter. I will use a pop filter, and this is how it sounds if I am really up to it. It's a nice sound, but it requires some tweaking if it is to be broadcast in any medium like TV or radio or even YouTube, because otherwise it sounds very bassy. So no sound engineer would accept this to be aired in any way. They would definitely tweak it. And then let's jump to the Sennheiser 416. And this now is the Sennheiser 416. Like I mentioned, this microphone is more ready in a way, and not more ready. Both of these microphones are really ready to be used in a production. But this microphone is more directional, and it also, because of the fact that it uses a small diaphragm in its system, in its architecture, it allows me to come up really close to it without accenting my bass frequencies too much. Not as much as the Neumann, at least. So I can actually work this microphone really closely, and it's going to sound incredible no matter how far or close I am to it. But when I'm really close to it, it helps with the rejection, but more of that later. So now that we're discussing the working distance from the microphones, let's also test the fall off, which has to do with how the sound is affected when we are moving further away from the microphones. So this is the Sennheiser 416, and I am right in front of it. As you can see, I'm about this close to it. I was that close. I touched it. What movie was that from? Leave it in the comments below. So if I go further away from the microphone, this is what the microphone sounds like. There's the washing machine. And even further away, this is what the microphone sounds like. If I keep raising the gain in order to match my previous gain, let's also raise the gain in the preamp gain. So if I move further away, this is what happens to it. If I'm this close, which is a proper video distance for a video mic, if I was miking myself for this YouTube video and I had to get this microphone out of my shot, I would put it approximately somewhere here so that you wouldn't see it. And I think here you wouldn't see it. So this is the distance that I would be working with. And this is the sound of the microphone from that distance. There is a lot of ambience and a lot of reflections. It sounds pretty live in here. That's what we call it. It's not dead enough. I would need to put up more panels or more curtains or sound blankets, acoustic blankets, in order to dampen the sound so that I can work in such a distance. And that's not happening right now because this is not that kind of room right now. So let's go back closer into the microphone, closer to the microphone, like so. This was the Sennheiser 416 and the fall off when I move further away from the microphone. Let's jump to the Neumann TLM103. This is the Neumann TLM103, and I'm recording, well, now I'm recording at the proper distance from pinky to thumb. I'm not using a pop filter, so sorry about that, pop. I will move further away from the microphone, and let's see how the microphone sound is affected. I am moving further away from the microphone, Now I'm about almost 40 centimeters away from the microphone, and this is how it sounds. Let me raise the gain and see how the sound will be affected. So I'm also raising the gain at 35 right now. This is what the microphone sounds like at 35. Once again, you can hear how live this room is getting now. The microphone is working more in order to capture my voice because there's more of a distance, and you can hear that my voice is not as present. So if you want to work with a distance from these two microphones, you need to have better acoustics in your room. Also, the fact that I have raised the gain and I'm further away from the microphones increases the ambient sounds. Are you wearing your headphones? So let's go back in. I have to be ASMR right now, otherwise you're gonna go deaf from that gain. Okay, so I am back at the proper distance from the Neumann TLM103, and this has been its sound and its fall off. Let's go to the RØDE PodMic. And this is the RØDE PodMic. I know what you're thinking. Where was the ambience? More of that later. So the RØDE PodMic is closely addressed, like it's a close addressed microphone, and I have to be right in front of it in order for it to sound its best. I will now start moving further away, and I will begin with the distance from pinky to thumb, like we said. So this is the RØDE PodMic with the distance that I have to work with on the Neumann TLM103. And if I move further and further away, this is now approximately the same distance, 40 centimeters, that I was working with the Neumann TLM103. That's the sound of the RØDE PodMic. Let's raise the gain and see what happens. So I am at 45, like I mentioned, which is nearly maximum. Let's go to the maximum, which is 55 on the Rodecaster Pro. And this is the sound of the RØDE PodMic at maximum. What you are hearing, the small, like the tiny hissing sound that you can hear, is actually the noise floor level of the microphone being accented from the very good preamps of the Rodecaster Pro. So this is actually the internal sound of this microphone, and which is being picked up by the Rodecaster and amplified a lot through its gain. The fact that we're pushing the gain makes it worse. So this is not so much the ambience from outside or from the room or from my light or anything. This is internal noise, and that is called the noise floor of the microphone. Each microphone has its own noise floor, and dynamic microphones tend to have a higher noise floor, especially the dynamic microphones like the PodMic and the Shure SM7B, which is the venerable mic, the king of the dynamic microphones, especially for broadcast, and the microphone Michael Jackson used for Thriller. That microphone also requires a lot of gain. So, but this one has more of a noise floor. So dynamic microphones may require a cloud lifter in order to mitigate for this. But again, can you tell the difference in the sound? When I move further away from the PodMic, there is a drastic difference in sound. And that is because dynamic microphones are designed to be worked close distance. Let's take the gain back to its 45 level. Yep. Again, you can still hear the noise floor, but it's so much better right now. Compared to my voice, it's a lot less. So, what have we learned from the difference in these three completely different sounds, or at least, two different sounds? Dynamic condenser. Condenser microphones can sound good when worked from further away. Especially large diaphragm condensers have a very, very sweet fall off. So the further away I am from the microphone, the sound doesn't change too much, especially with top of the pops, like top notch, top quality condenser, large diaphragm condenser microphones. Like for instance, this is not going to be good for the shot because you're going to see my light. That's what I'm using to light my shadows here. Like this Manley here, this is the Manley reference cardioid microphone. If you use this microphone in an anechoic chamber, like a chamber that is completely acoustically dead, then you can even hear your heartbeat or your loved ones, and that would be sweet. I also made a rhyme there. So large diaphragm condenser microphones do not change their sound if you move further away from them. Not too much. And of course, if you deaden the room, the more dead the room is, the better. Dynamic microphones do need to be worked really closely. Guys, I'm going to pause the video right there for a second. If you are finding value in this video, click the like button. It really motivates me to keep making more videos like these, and it helps the channel get traction so that, more demand is going to give more supply. Thanks, everyone. So now let's discuss the rejection. Which microphone can you hear more of a rejection from? And by rejection, I mean how much do they reject the ambient sounds and the reflections in the room. So how much do they isolate the sound source that is my voice, my direct voice, compared to my voice being bounced off the walls and my washing machine and my wife eating in the kitchen and people screaming outside, etc., etc. There's actually a party going on in the building a couple floors below. We are beginning the rejection test with the RØDE PodMic. This is me speaking into the RØDE PodMic, and can you hear too much of the ambient sounds around me? I will now switch to the Neumann TLM103. And this is the Neumann TLM103. I can hear the street. I can also hear my washing machine. Let's jump to the Sennheiser 416. This is the Sennheiser 416. Oop, that's the washing machine. Let's go back to the Neumann. This is the Sennheiser 416. This is the Neumann. There's also something else that you need to take a note of here. When I'm speaking, can you hear the washing machine now that I am speaking into the Neumann? Can you hear the washing machine while I am speaking into the Sennheiser? This is the Neumann. This is the Sennheiser. I am pointing out this difference because the Sennheiser has a different architecture. I think we can all agree that in this comparison, the dynamic microphone wins by far. It has a higher noise floor, so a cloud lifter would definitely help with that, but it wins at rejecting the ambience in the room and the reflections, the ambience from outside the room and from within the room, and the reflections inside the room. The Sennheiser, though, has an advantage compared to the Neumann because The Neumann is just a capsule that or Neumann is just a capsule that the Neumann is just a capsule that takes everything that is being fed into it. It is a cardioid pattern, which means that it is picking up sound from the front of the microphone. Let's actually showcase this. So this is the Neumann TLM103, and now I am at the side of the Neumann TLM103, and now I am behind the Neumann TLM103, and let's go back to the front. So it is picking up from the sound from the front, but it is not rejecting, other than the fact that sound is coming from another side. That's the only rejection it does. The Sennheiser, however, and let's showcase this polar pattern, has a very different and even more accented fall off when I move further away from the microphone. So this is me from behind, from the side, and from the front. To its credit, the Neumann is also actually really good at rejecting some of the sounds from the sides and from the back. But the Sennheiser is designed to do that by default. I keep doing that. These grills that you can see at the sides are not just for aesthetic purposes. These are actually receiving sound from the sides of the microphone, and they are taking it out of the equation from the signal that they're sending it through the cable. So my source, which is my voice, is being fed into the microphone head on, directly into the capsule. And the sides are being used to detect what ambience is outside my voice, like around my voice, and reject it as much as possible. That is why when I am speaking, this microphone is rejecting all the ambience as much as possible. And that goes for the reflections as well, to a certain degree. That is why when I am speaking, you can hear my voice clearer and the ambience not so much from this microphone compared to this one. That is why shotguns are being used in theaters when they are, miking an ensemble, and the ensemble doesn't have like lav mics on them, or these mics that are hanging from the foreheads, which is happening in the musical theater, which is what I studied. Then they are using, they want to mic, the sound engineer wants to mic the whole stage because they want the production to sound as natural as possible sometimes. That is why they are using shotgun mics at certain intervals throughout the stage, throughout the length of the stage, to mic the whole thing. That's also happening in venues outside, outdoors, because these microphones are not picking up the birds and the audience, etc. They are really good at this. So best for side rejection without any post-processing, I would say this is the best, or any dynamic microphone is the best. Then you get the shotgun, and then you have any large diaphragm condenser. Of course, another thing that you can do to reduce the ambience in the room and the reflections from your surfaces, like your walls and your ceiling, is to add effects to your signal. This can either be done in post, or it can be done during the recording, or video capturing or whatever. So there are hardware units that you can do this with. There are software versions of this that you can use. Noise gate is a very good example of that, and let me demonstrate what that is right now. Actually, I'm just going to switch on all the post-processing that the Rodecaster Pro can do for these microphones, all three microphones, and showcase what it is to use them and not use them. So right now, we are not using any post-processing for the PodMic, and I'm going to be switching everything on. Where did everything go? Where did the sound go? I know, right? So this is the RØDE PodMic with the processing turned on. And what I have running right now is a high-pass filter, a noise gate, no de-esser because I don't want to run that, a compressor, and a bass boost, and an aural exciter. These are all the effects that the Rodecaster Pro gives you and allows you to use. I do not use a de-esser because I do not find it necessary for my voice and my S's. The de-esser just attenuates the S sounds a little bit. It makes them lower and not as prominent if you have a sibilant voice. That's what the de-esser is useful for. but let's take the effects one by one. The high pass filter is a bass roll off, so it takes away some of the bass frequencies, which is usually where rumble occurs. So if you have a washing machine or a refrigerator running, the bass frequencies of that are more prominent. And if you use a high pass filter at around 90 hertz, that's going to help a lot. I have mine set around 60 because I do not find I have a lot of bass noises usually running in the house. So I just use it to take away some of the pops that can occur when I'm recording, and that helps a lot. You can take it, by the way, up to 110 hertz. I wouldn't suggest a lot more than that, especially if you're a male, because your vocal cords produce some bass frequencies that we do require in the industry. The noise gate is what is actually canceling the silences in between my voice. So it has a threshold, and it is accepting sound when the source is higher than a specific level, louder than a specific level that you set it to. And I have it set at, for instance, right now, minus 52.2 dB, which means that anything that is below that, absolutely nothing. So if I am not speaking loud enough, it is cutting away some of my voice, as you can hear. But if I'm speaking normally, as I normally would, it is picking up everything that I say with great results. Again, if I was using a cloud lifter, the noise floor of the microphone would be very, very, very low. So this sound that you're hearing right now is probably going to go away once I get my hands on a cloud lifter. That's what the noise gate is doing. We talked about the ESR. The compressor is taking away some of the high frequencies, some of the high volume sounds that my voice is producing, and it's lowering them, and it's taking some of the softer tones, softer sounds that my voice is producing right now, and it's raising them. So it's crushing the signal to an extent that everything is audible but not peaking, if that makes sense. So it's producing a very even sound all around throughout the whole recording. And then the bass boost, which is provided by Aphex, and the oral exciter. The big bottom is what they call the bass boost, is actually, it's taking a specific frequency in my voice that I have set it, for instance, in this case, at 100 hertz, and it's boosting it by 60, I don't know what that is, percent, probably percent, and it's mixing it by 30%. It has these sort of tweaks that you can do to it in order to provide some more bass into my voice. This microphone actually has a built-in high-pass filter, so it has a bass roll-off on its own. So it's benefiting a lot from this big bottom effect. And the oral exciter is adding some high frequencies into my voice, which this microphone also is benefiting a lot from. Let's listen to the microphone with and without the oral exciter. This is me speaking into the microphone with the oral exciter. This is me speaking into the microphone without the oral exciter. Not a huge difference, but let's do this. Let's switch it back on while I'm saying the S sound. S S S S S S S S S S S S S S S and off S S S S S S S S and on S S S S S. I don't know if you can hear it. I think it's pretty subtle, but it's there. Anyway, I used the PodMic to demonstrate all the effects. Now let's switch to the other microphones and show you how they perform with especially the noise gate, which is the point of this video, isn't it? So we are now with the Neumann TLM103, and the effects have been turned on. This is pretty loud. Let's go over here. And the noise gate, it was accidentally set somewhere wrongfully high. So this is the Neumann TLM103, and I'd say it was working pretty good. I like the Neumann TLM103 and how it's working with the Rodecaster Pro in terms of noise rejection, the noise gate, is fairly prominent, again, but it's more subtle in its fall off, the way it's just dropping at the end in between my syllables. I really like the rejection of the Neumann TLM103 overall, so I think it's doing a great job in rejecting background noise right now. Let's listen to it with and without the processing. So this is the Neumann TLM103 without, with the processing, and I'm switching off in 3, 2, 1. This is the Neumann TLM103 without any processing. Huge difference, isn't there? And switching on in 3, 2, 1. This is the Neumann TLM103 with the audio processing. It's a bit of a cheat, isn't it? Let's go to the Sennheiser 416. This is the Sennheiser 416 with the audio processing turned on. Let's switch it off and see what it does. This is the Sennheiser 416 with the audio processing off. Let's switch it on in 3, 2, 1. Sennheiser 416 audio processing on. I love these microphones. So there you have it. This is what these microphones can do for you when they are using some sort of noise gate and some audio processing to help with ambient sounds, etc. Let me just close the windows and the doors and put the panels back on and see how the sound is affected, because that's what's going to happen to you if you use acoustic blankets or acoustic panels or some sort of absorption on the walls for a better sound. So let's do that right now. I also noticed that I had my trusted Aperture MCs turned off, this one and the one in my back, for the last segment of audio post-processing. And I switched them back on. Did anyone of you notice? So this is the room the way I normally use it, with the door closed, the windows closed, and all the panels on the walls exactly the way I've designed it. And this is the sound of the RØDE PodMic with the post-processing. This is the sound of the RØDE PodMic without the post-processing. This is what I said about the noise floor. It's still there, so it's not coming from outside. This is the sound of the TLM103, the Neumann, without any post-processing. And now you can definitely hear my computer in the background. And this is the sound of the Neumann TLM103 with the post-processing. The noise gate is canceling my computer pretty substantially. And there is a little bit of sound from my computer when I'm stopping my speech, so in between my words, but it's not too prominent. This is the sound of the Sennheiser 416 without any post-processing. Again, you can hear my computer. And I'm switching audio post-processing right now. And this is the sound of the Sennheiser 416 with the audio post-processing. Still, you can hear some of my computer when I am stopping, when I am pausing in between my words. But again, it's not too prominent. The last thing I want to talk about is looks. And I left that for last because it matters less than anything else in this world, in the world of audio. But again, if you are streaming and you're doing video, then do you want something like this in your shot? Because most people don't like this in their shot. This makes you look kind of like a professional singer or something, and this makes you look and sound like a radio producer. So you gain something, you lose something with every solution out there. There's not one solution for everybody, and that's why I cannot suggest one single microphone when some of you are asking me, what microphone should I buy? What is it that you want to do is the question. What is it that you want to do? This, by the way, I like this microphone. I think it's gorgeous. Maybe I bought it because it's so good looking. I love it. Once I get my hands on the cloud lifter, that's going to sound a lot better too. Okay, so let's end this video in my favorite setup of all. This is the Neumann TLM103, and some conclusions. What can you do in order to get better sound in your videos or your voice acting, your recordings, or your podcasts, your narration, your streaming service, whatever it is that you do? Audio is key. So number one, close all the doors and your windows and isolate yourself as much as possible in your room. Also, you can turn off your mobile phone. Number two, put something up on the walls and on the floor and on the ceiling as much as possible to create absorption, sound absorption. Do not let the sound bounce off parallel surfaces and then come back into your microphone. That is going to create a sense of havoc and will not help the listener focus on your voice. Number three, choose the right interface and, of course, the right microphone for you. The right interface in conjunction with a microphone. I would suggest start with a microphone and your needs. So if you do not have a room that is acoustically treated and with not too much absorption, I would suggest a dynamic microphone. Let's switch to one right now because this room is pretty live, like I said. So a dynamic microphone is going to be sounding like this, and it's going to be very, very good in case you want to mitigate for reflections and ambient sounds. If, however, you decide to go with a dynamic microphone, be sure to check if you need a cloud lifter. Some gain-hungry microphones do require cloud lifters. If you go for a condenser microphone, make sure that your interface can provide phantom power for your microphone. Also bear in mind that with a dynamic microphone, your microphone will be in the shot. So if you're doing videos, this is going to be in your shot because it needs to be worked closely. If, however, you need the closeness and you like condenser microphones, a shotgun microphone is going to work wonders for you. If, again, you are doing both audio and video production, a shotgun microphone will allow you to have yourself far away from the microphone when you need to record video and close enough for a voiceover session like this, where the voice is even more isolated. If your room is perfectly treated with absorption, then a large diaphragm condenser is probably the best way to do it. You need proper isolation from external sounds, external sources, and absorption in order to be able to record good quality audio with a large diaphragm condenser microphone. It is the most expensive option out of the three, not just because of the costs of the microphones, because these can go up to thousands of dollars, but also because you need to isolate yourself, and proper isolation means building around you and possibly a room within a room. And also the absorption. The panels, they're not too expensive, but they're, it's a cost that you need to keep in mind if you are going for that. I honestly don't know how to end this video, guys. This has been so long, and thanks so much for tuning in and for staying up until now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something today. It is my pleasure to showcase what these microphones can do and what the differences are between them. I've sort of like looked them up, not studied because I didn't pay anyone to teach me these things. But I studied on my own, okay? I learned on the job, on the street, on the go. Anyway, it's just a pleasure to share what I know with you guys and the intricacies of the profession. Let me put it this way. If you found this video helpful, click the like button and leave a comment down below saying thank you or telling me what you want to see next. And if you didn't find this video helpful, just let me know why. And if you got bored then and you left, and then you don't have to say anything because you're gone already. If you didn't hear this video with headphones, I suggest you save it and listen to the whole thing again, because it will make a world of a difference. If you heard this on your phone or your laptop speakers, just do it again. Watch it again. I suggest you subscribe to the channel because it might be useful, in the future if you want to receive more videos like this one in your inbox. Just subscribe. And on that note, I'm going to leave you. And I don't know how I'm going to reach the camera. I'll try. So till next time, be kind.